So I'll think about those things. If you have any suggestions, email them to me. I'm fully open to making it more interesting. So eventually, usually they have drop-in tutoring available for this course, but I don't know when that is yet. They haven't really announced it. I looked on the Student Success Center. They don't have it posted yet. But if you ever have problems, don't hesitate to come to my office hours. I schedule 4 hours a week, but I'm also available by appointment. So as long as you give me a couple hours, if not a day ahead of time notice, I'll be more than happy to meet with you guys. I'm very caring about my students. I want you to do the best you can during this semester. So feel free to come by my office hours, please. Homework 0 is due on Wednesday. So your first homework is due on Wednesday. Again, it should not take you very long, but I would say go ahead and get it out of the way. So Lab 01 is going to be on Wednesday and Thursday. So here's another thing I want to pull around the question. Would you rather have your quiz at the beginning of the lab or the end? So raise your hand if you want the beginning. Okay. How about the end? Okay, so end is pretty, yeah. Okay, so that way I was kind of thinking the same thing because that way you can practice, get your brain in the right mindset and whatnot. So yeah, we'll have it at the end tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, but later this week. Again, it won't take that long, maybe 10 minutes or so, probably just 5 questions. So yeah. All right, so what did we learn the last 2 weeks? Learned the most fundamental commands, so you can navigate things around, kind of use the terminal. It was very boring. I'm going to be honest, it is. But things are going to get more exciting this week. We learned where to get the information, Google, man pages, whatnot. So you can choose whichever you want. The man pages, I will warn you, some commands have thousands of lines. So do with that what you will. Google is my opinion. In my opinion, Google's better. Practice a lot of commands. We'll practice more. That's the spoiler. Yeah, a lot more practice coming your way. And yeah, so we learned about the file structure organization. This can be carried from one operating system to the next. You can have Windows. This works in Mac OS. They all have their version of this file system and structure. We learned about relative and absolute or global paths. We'll see more of that today. We learned that there's basically 4 symbols you need to remember what they mean and where they are. So you got tilde, 2 dots for parent, a single dot for the current directory, and a single slash for root. So you just need to remember those 4 and what they stand for. Learn some commands. You'll use them plenty more throughout the semester. Okay, so just a quick overview. Like I alluded to 2 weeks ago, case matters. So uppercase hello and lowercase hello are not the same thing. They're 2 different files, 2 different directories. Anytime you see angle brackets, do not type the angle bracket. So if I type echo and then a word, for example, don't type the angle brackets and put hello in the middle. Just insert hello, or just insert something there, right? Get rid of the angle brackets, insert it. Don't type the angle brackets. Angle brackets actually mean something very specific in Linux, which we'll learn about in a couple weeks. All right, so we learned some quick shortcuts. We'll kind of briefly go over them. And so today, instead of using and double-clicking on a file and opening a file and editing it from gedit or text editor or whatnot, you'll learn how to do it in the command line. So, all right, and then we'll learn command line arguments and stuff in the next week or so. All right, so a couple shortcuts. Remember, tab is your friend. It auto-completes things. So if I just do a quick demo, here's all my little directories in here. If I do CD and I want to go into my downloads directory, instead of typing out the whole word downloads, I just hit tab after DOW and it automatically auto-completes it. So it makes you faster, so you don't have to type every single character out. Trust me, it saves you a lot of time. All right. Use up and down arrow keys for navigating through previous commands. So if you run a bunch of commands, you'll see that you can go up and down and run them again. You just search through them. There's a better way of doing this, but there's a ton of them. So yeah, and your commands are going to get long. So like last night, I was doing some stuff with Arch Linux, Yeah, that command's pretty long, right? So you don't want to type that all over again if you make a mistake and just go up and down to find it. All right. All right. Lots of packages and programs that you can find. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so some hints about the quiz. So a lot of you are probably like, what's going to be on the quiz? What's going to be on the quiz? I don't know. I don't know what to expect with this class because it's new semester, new quiz. So here's a couple pointers for you. So there'll be probably 5 questions total. They may be multi-part or not. But the 2 key points here is what commands do what. So just be able to tell me CD stands for change directory, changes the location of where you are in the terminal. So if I give you the move command or whatnot, I say, what does this command do? Or what command does blank? You should be able to answer that. So if I say, what command do you use to move files and directories? You would say MV for move. So yeah, you should know what the command is and what it does. Okay, and then understanding paths. So what is a path? That was part of your lab. What do they look like? So things separated by slashes, forward slashes. And then how do you form a path? How do you make your own path? And then you got what makes an absolute path of the absolute path? That single slash on the left side. And then what is a relative path? You only have 3 symbols that you know. All right. So let's do a quick question that I might ask on the quiz. So suppose this is what I would give you. This is the question that I would give you on the quiz. And then you would only have like 1 or 2 of these, maybe. You won't have. So what it says is Alice is working on a project called Project 1 240. So Project 1 for the class 240. Alice has created a directory called Project 1 _ 240 in their home directory. Inside of this project directory, Alice has also created a data directory. So you have a folder inside of a folder. And then she also created 2 more directories inside of the data directory, raw and clean. All right. And then the question is, provide all the relative paths and the absolute paths for each directory. So there should be 8 of them. So there should be 2. There should be a relative path for each directory and a absolute path for each directory. All right. So for the project directories, project 1 _ 240, the relative path is ~/project1 because it's in the home directory. We can use tilde. The longer form of that, which is also global, is this home/home/Alice project 1 240. So that's the 2 paths, relative and global, for that project. Yeah.
So when you're speaking of a relative path, you're not talking about the relationship to the present working directory.
So
kind of assumes that the present working directory is given for a path.
yeah. So it's 2 things. So there's 2 relative paths that are relative because they're based on your current location. That's dot and dot dot. But the tilde is also relative because it's relative to based who you are, who your user is. Your tilde is your tilde, not mine. Tilde is just shorthand for this home/Alice. So it's relative, so if I did it, it would be home/PSC. Because I'm PSC, that's Alice. So it's relative to the user. So 2 of them are for based on your location, and tilde is the only outlier here, which is based off of who your user is that you're logged in with. So, but yeah, so if we go back to the question, this project 1 240 directory is in Alice's home folder, home directory, which is the same thing as tilde. It's also the same thing as /home/Alice. Those are all synonymous and the same. Does it make sense? All right. Any questions on that? Okay. So, all right. So what about that data directory that we mentioned? All right. So it's inside of the project 240 directory. So we just add it to the end with a slash right here. We just have a single slash right here, and we just chain it together. We keep doing this. Okay, the raw directory is inside of data, so we just add it to the end of the data. Okay, but then we have clean. Clean is also inside of data, and they're 2 separate directories, so we just chain it onto the end. So it's not too bad, right? You're just specifying okay, we're in the home directory. Now we're in project 1_240 directory. Then we're in data. Then we're in raw. So specifying the exact place where something is located, either with a relative path or a absolute path. So remember, absolute starts with the slash. Absolute and global paths start with that root symbol.
So just to confirm, the only difference between absolute and relative is that you replace home and then the username with the tilde.
That's one of the relative paths. So yeah.
Will you be uploading these notes or not?
Yes. Yeah. I meant to do it before I left, but I got busy. All right. No problem. All right. So yeah, I'll upload these and stuff on Dropbox so you can study them as well. So if you use CD on any of these, then it'll take you directly to that location. So you just do CD /project1_240 data raw. It's going to take you directly there. Doesn't matter which, either relative or global, it's going to use it. Go directly to that directory. The only difference here is which one's shorter, right? Tilde is much shorter because it replaces two components of the path. Yeah. Either way, they're the same thing, essentially. So, like I said, the IT manager decided to do a count. There is a root home directory, but he's the only one that has access to it. So, anyway. Okay, so what about the other relative paths? So, somebody asked about the other relative paths besides the tilde. So, assuming if we're in the raw directory, so we have this raw directory that's inside of project data, which is also inside of project 1_240, which is also in the home directory. How do we go back up and down, right? So if we want to go up in the file system, we just do cd ... So we go from the raw directory up one directory to .data. And then if we want to go up two directories above that, then it's we just do .. Same thing if we want to do 3. All right, so to make this make more sense, let's do it real quick. So I'm just going to do this in the GUI so that you can kind of see what's going on. Let me kind of maximize it a little bit, do this. All right. Maybe can I zoom? I don't know if I can zoom. Anyway, I'm recording this lecture so you can go on YouTube and watch it. Okay, so let's go to our home directory. So this is my home directory on my Mac. So Mac is Unix based. So we create a new folder. So this is our project 1_240 directory for 250. So if I wanted to rename it, I could do move, but we're doing this in the GUI for now. All right. So inside of here we have new folder, and we're gonna rename this one data, and then inside of this one we're gonna do clean and raw. Yeah. And Mac is weird about how it does folders, so it doesn't actually snap them. But anyway, so we have these two folders. So we're in the raw directory right now. All right, so if we want to go back up to data, we do cd .. So that's essentially just pressing this back button. Now we're back in data. See, we're up here at data. All right, if we want to go back another directory, cd .. to the project 1_240 directory, hit back again. So that's going up another directory. And then if we want to go up again, then cd .. All right, now we're back home. We're just going into directories and going up out of directories. All right. So is there a shorter way to get back home? What's the shorter way? Just CD. Yeah, thank you. All right. So, and there's the third relative path, which is just a single dot. We'll use this later in the course. Right now, it's not that important. You just need to know that dot is a relative path, and it stands for current directory. That's all you need to know.
Would we need to put that part, like, if that was a question on the quiz, would we need to put that second all that information as part of the answer?
No.
Okay.
If I ask for it, yes, but no. So the question before was just simply provide all the relative and absolute paths of each directory that I talk about in the description. So yeah. All right. Any questions about that kind of question? that will be on the quiz. There will be one very similar to it. Yeah. No, not. It's going to be paper. So most of you probably heard about ChatGPT. If you haven't, like, look it up. It's a little chat bot that you can type in a question and it will try to answer it. And it's pretty good at these things. So the only way I can ensure integrity, like academic integrity, and that you're not cheating this way, you're hurting yourself, is to do paper quizzes, unfortunately. Now, there will be at times where I probably do a multiple choice quiz or two online or something, but for now, until I think about ways I can prevent people from cheating with ChatGPT, yeah, we're going to do paper quizzes. So, yeah, it's a good tool, not good for academics sometimes. It can be good to study and stuff with and ask questions, but it's not always right, and it can end up hurting you. Okay, so VIM. Let's dive head first. So last week we did touch, or in the previous weeks we did touch to create our files, right? Well, that just creates empty files, right? So we want to know how to edit those files and add things to it. And we can also create files with VIM. It's just another text editor. So if you're used to Windows, it's called Notepad. That's a text editor. Microsoft Word is a text editor, but it's a word processor more is what they like to call it, and etc. So you've probably already used it. If you took 145, 146, or done any coding, you probably used an IDE, so Integrated Development Environment. And this has a ton of different features. It has a text editor built in. That's where you write your code, right? But it also has a compiler kind of built in or linked to it, and then it also executes things. So there's a lot of stuff under the hood that you don't know is there, but it is. So this class is kind of going to break those things apart and show you them individually. And there are some advantages to breaking them apart instead of just hitting a green run button right here. Because when you click that magic green red button, a lot of things happen. And it's good to know what happens. And sometimes it ends up making things a lot more complex and less functional. So this course is all about functionality, making your life easier. Right? IDEs don't necessarily always do that. Okay, so what is VIM? Another command. So we're going to learn tons of them. So I'll upload a little cheat sheet that will kind of have a summary of all the commands. I used it last semester. A lot of students liked it, so I think y'all will like that. And then, of course, there'll be Kahoots for you to study too. So VIM is just another command, and it's just a text editor. It can do a lot if you want it to, but at its core, it's just a text editor. So if you're used to Notepad or Notepad++, or even Word to some extent, you're using a text editor already. VIM is just another one, another flavor, and it works in the terminal. So yeah, simple text processor, yada, yada, yada. We've already went over that. All right. No, it's on the labs. No, you can remote into the labs or go into the labs. It's in there already. Okay. You can also use the command VI. So VI and VIM are usually somewhat similar. They're usually chained together or aliased together. But don't worry about it. You can use VI or VIM, VIM, as your command. Either one works. All right, so what is VIM not? So compared to an IDE, VIM is not an IDE. It is literally just writing text in a file. It has more things you can do, but that's the core functionality that it's trying to accomplish well, is just text editing. And it's not a compiler. So it's not going to run your code. It's not going to compile your code. It's not going to do anything other than let you write it. Okay. So why then, right? Why do we even care? So the biggest thing is for headless servers. So what I mean by headless is if you remote into a server later in your career, you don't have a keyboard, mouse, and a display at that server, then you can remote into it, and you're going to have to use something like VIM to edit your files and configure things and whatnot. You're not going to have that mouse clickability and GUI even sometimes. That's what I mean by headless. You can remote into it, but you're not going to have access to the nice comfort features that you've always had. All right. And trust me, it will come along in your career, probably. All right. So customizable. You can customize the color, you can customize syntax highlighting. There's a ton of things you can customize with Vim. It's just the sky's the limit as far as what you want to do. I usually like to keep mine minimalistic. All right. Tons of default programming languages supported. So just like VS Code, all your other editors, they highlight things. It has support for different languages. That's where your extensions come in. So if you have a file ending in .py, it's a Python. So Vim knows to open syntax highlighting for Python. Same thing with CPP. If you have .cpp at the end, then it highlights based off of C++. All right. And then, yeah, quick and easy if you master it. If you don't master Vim, it's going to take you longer. But once you master it, you're a master. You look like that hacker. And then, yeah, never leave the keyboard. Goodbye mouse, throw it in the dumpster. You'll never need it again. That's a lie. But still, yeah. You can, instead of moving your hand from one thing to a next, or using a mouse and going back and forth between mouse and keyboard, you can just use your keyboard. That's what it was designed for. That is what Vim does best. All right, pure text. So when you open a file in Vim, all you're going to see is text. Now, whether that text is legible or not, depending on the file, is up to you. So, all right. Differences. So, a couple things to note, especially when you're remoting into the labs. If you take a copy of your file from the Linux labs, from Linux or UNIX, and put it on Windows, it's going to have a little bit of a problem with how it does line endings. So whenever you hit enter on the keyboard in a file and save it, it's saved as a return character. So in Linux and Unix, it's /n, just a single \n. So it's backslash, not /. But Windows does it differently. So their return character is not the same. So if you're getting weird looking text and you copied from Linux or Unix to Windows, then that's probably why. So just keep that in mind if you're remoting in and transferring. And now, this is where we start looking like a hacker. Yeah. Yes. So you can go in and manually fix it yourself with a Linux machine. Like you open the Windows file in the Linux machine and change it, or you do it vice versa. But there's also converters around. There's a ton of, usually there's tools on Linux you can install that is called DOS to Unix or whatnot. And if you do DOS to Unix and then the file name, it will change it to the correct file endings. So you can fix it. It's just a little bit tricky. So yeah, this is where we're going to start looking like hackers. All right. So I'm going to pull up a command line. So we have both. All right, so I'm just going to go to my desktop now, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So my command prompt looks different. This is what you can do. You can make it customizable. You can put information available and everything that you need to see. Like I have the current directory, which is desktop. I have my memory usage, my RAM usage. So if I'm running a program, I can monitor the usage of the RAM at all times. I have how long it takes to run a command. So if I do ls, then that ls operation took 15 milliseconds. And then, yeah, my host name and the machine platform. So if I take this script or set this up, and this will be a different icon for a different machine. So you can do all sorts of things with the command line. You can set it up like this. You don't have to, but it's nice. You can do all kinds of things. All right, so Vim modes. So there are different types of modes in Vim. So just like in Microsoft Office, sometimes you have a viewing mode versus a editing mode. Read-only or editing mode, whatever, same thing. So Vim has the same thing. So the default is called normal mode. So when you open Vim for the first time, so let's do it. So make directory, let's do demo, cd demo. When you do Vim for the first time, you're going to do Vim or VI, same thing. And then we're going to do vim demo.txt. Or let's do a programming language. So we'll learn about it later. Well, it's not a programming language, it's a scripting language, but we're going to do a shell script. So I'm going to do vi vim demo.sh, press enter. And then you'll learn this stuff later in the semester. But yeah, So when we enter Vim, I got ahead of myself. We're in this what's called normal mode. So it's not editing. If you move your cursor around, if you try to type something, it usually doesn't let you, unless you hit a certain key. So if you hit a certain key, it's I, you go into a different mode called insert mode, which is the editing mode. It allows you to insert, change, and modify text. All right? And then there's another visual mode that lets you copy, paste, cut, whatnot, delete things, whatnot. So it's like selecting, like with your mouse, but without a mouse. You can select things. And we'll learn a little bit about visual maybe this semester, but you can kind of learn it on your own if not, if we can't cover it in time. Okay, so first things first, let's create a file with Vim. So RM, I'm just going to delete this Vim demo so I can show it again. All right, so if I do VI Vim demo, not only does this open the file for editing, it also creates it. So you no longer have to use touch every single time. So instead of doing touch vimdemo.sh, we can do just vi vimdemo.sh. And then it creates the file as long as we save it, and it allows us to edit. So if I do this, press enter, it opens Vim. So right now we're in normal mode. So yours may look a little bit different, but mine has this. It has the file that I opened, it has some line numbers and other things. And these tildes are just empty. It's not actually got tildes in the file, it's just empty. It's just saying, hey, there's nothing there. All right, so right now we only have a single line. So I'm going to go into insert mode, and you do that by pressing I. So if you're following along with the slides, now we're at the next slide for insert. You just press I on the keyboard. And you'll see down here, it changes down here to insert. Like it says, you're in insert mode. And now we can actually add stuff. So we can do, we'll learn what it means later in the semester, but this is called a shebang. And then you just kind of write your script. So you can say echo hello world. And what I mean by a script, we'll learn it next week or in the coming weeks, is you just write commands in it, and it runs the commands for you. So it's like a program. So we can do hello world, like that. And you can write text in here. It doesn't matter what you write. It's just text, right? So if you want to get out of insert mode, so right now we just modified that. We pressed I on the keyboard. We wrote what we wanted. If we want to get out of insert mode, so right now I've got this insert at the bottom. If we want to get out of insert mode, you just press escape. So on your keyboard, you just press escape. Not that escape for the lecture slides. Just press escape while you're in the editor, and you'll see insert disappears. All right, so now you're in like read-only mode again, somewhat. All right, so now you're back in normal mode. So anytime you're in a different mode of Vim, or you get stuck or something, try pressing escape a couple times, and it'll probably take you back to normal mode. So you just press escape after you insert and edit things to get into normal mode. All right, and those of you who have an older MacBook with the touch bars, and it used to have a little escape, like a touch screen escape. Oh, it was annoying. Now the new MacBooks have the escape button back. I bought a new MacBook just for the escape. So yeah. Anyway, so how do you save your file? Well, it's called write. We call it write. It starts with a W. And you essentially do :W while you're inside of normal mode. So if we're in here and we want to save our file, we just do escape a couple times to get back into normal mode. We do :W. And you'll see at the very bottom, let me bring it up a little bit. So you'll see at the very bottom when you do this, you'll see at the bottom it says the file name, how many lines you have, how many bytes are in the file that you have, and then written, how many bytes it actually wrote to the file. So that means you saved it, right? So write is just the same thing as saving. So like I said, all you do is while you're in normal mode, you press escape a couple times. You do, to get into normal mode, you do : what? What's going on? Oh, okay. You do : and then W. That's saving. And then you press enter. What? Yes, you have to be in normal. So you have to press escape and make sure you're not in insert mode anymore to press this shift or shift semicolon or colon and then do W and press enter. All right. So if you accidentally do Control S or sometimes, because you're used to hitting Control S or Command S or whatnot, it'll sometimes freeze your VIM window and you can't navigate anymore. If you do this, you just have to do Control Q to get out of it. It'll just freeze it. So yeah, just in case you do that. All right, so in VIM, you can also search. So the way you do this is you just do, while you're in normal mode, again, you got to press escape. There shouldn't be an insert down here. You do colon, /, and then you do type your word that you want to search for. Now, I have VIM set up to where it doesn't care about case, right? That's my configuration that I've configured with VIM. But in the Linux labs, for the most part, case does matter. So if I search for hello with the all lowercase, it's not going to match anything in here. In this case, I have it set up so it's going to find it. So there it is. It found it. But in your case, it's going to matter. So you would have to do colon / uppercase hello. And that would give you a match. And see, it takes the cursor there to that match. Okay. So again, case matters. Again, if you want to, so it's searching for the string. I got ahead of myself again. Type colon, type /, type the string you were looking for, press enter. Pretty easy. Now, if you want to sift through the matches, so if you have multiple matches or search results, if we do maybe hello CSCE 215, we have multiple matches. So I just saved it. If I have multiple matches and we do this hello again and press enter, you can search through them or sift through them, go up and down the previous search result by just pressing N. So you see my cursor, I'm pressing just lowercase n goes from match to match. If I want to, what? Yeah, just the letter N for next. Now, if you want to go back a search result, so lowercase n goes down in the search results. If you want to go up, you have to do Shift N. So it looks like it's doing the same thing, but it's not. So let's just type another one so we can see it better. All right. So if we do colon / and then do hello again, so now it picks it up, automatically searches for where your cursor is at. If you press N, it's going to go from down, and then it circles back around once you hit the bottom. So it goes from search result to search result. And then if you want to go up in search results, just Shift N. All right. So VIM, you can search. All right. What if you want to redo and undo, right? So you have to be in normal mode, just like we've been in. Let me just move my window so we can see this at the same time. So let's say we want to undo what we typed or redo what we typed. Well, you can do that in VIM too. So it's just U. You just type the U key. So if I want to go back in time a little bit, press U, and there. I'm at even the beginning of time where the file didn't have anything in it. Now, if I want to redo, oh, it's just Control R. Don't ask me why, I don't know, but it's Control R. So if you do Control R, it just redoes, right? So, and then if you want to scroll up and down, left and right, you just use the arrow keys. So it does just like what you would think it would. Now, VIM, like I said, is all about efficiency. It's all about being efficient, never using your mouse again. That way you're not trading between the two and wasting time moving your hand, right? Well, you have to move your hand to go to the arrow keys. So somebody thought about this, and so that you never have to leave the home row of your keyboard, you can just use H, J, K, and L. So H goes down, I believe. Let's see, or left, I mean. Yeah, it goes left. That's J. I'm hitting J. Left, that's H. And then J goes down, and then K goes up, and then L goes right. All right, so for me, it's hard to remember, so I never do this. I probably should. Again, it's probably more efficient to do it this way, but I don't care enough to learn it. I've already got the muscle memory for arrows. All right, and then if you want to go up and down page by page of code, so if you have more code on this file than you can see, so if we just enter down a couple lines, and we do hello down here, then we can go up and down with page up and page down. Like that. All right, and then you can do Control B and Control F for the macros if you don't want to do page up, page down keys on your keyboard, or if it doesn't have it. All right. There's a ton of macros. You can learn them if you want to. You don't have to. They're up to you. So how do you quit this? How do you exit out, essentially? So to exit out, you always want to save, usually, unless you don't want to save for some reason. Unless you have a particular use case. You do your :W. And let me bring it up. :W to save again. And if you want to quit, you just do :Q for quit. Press enter, it quits. All right, so Q for quit. So we've done it a couple times in lab where we open top or some programs like the man pages or whatnot, and you just hit Q. That's the same thing here, except you have to do a colon now. All right, so that's just a recurring thing that you see. So you press escape to get back in normal mode. You do colon, you do Q, press enter, you're done. Now, if you don't want to save your work, if you want to exit or quit without saving, you just add an exclamation point after the key. So if I open my file, I do oops, made a mistake, like that, and I don't want to save it, let's say I made a ton of changes and I don't want to save it, then I just do escape to get back into normal mode, colon, Q, exclamation, like that. And this will quit without saving. So if I do cat vimdemo.sh, then it didn't save that oops. So remember, cat just shows you the files. It just prints out the output of the file, the text inside of the file, to the terminal, right? So because we had all that white space in our file, it printed a bunch of white space. And there's no oops, because we didn't save it. We quit without saving. Okay. So, like I said, Vim has a ton more functionality. You can use it or not, yeah. So, this is Vim configurations. We'll probably do this at some point in the semester, or I may even do it this week in lab. But if you do VI Vim demo again, so there's Vim commands. So if you're in normal mode, you can do colon, and then you do set, and then num. If you want to get rid of the numbers, you do no num, or no new. I think it's no new. Yeah. So that gets rid of the numbers. If you want to get rid of or actually add the numbers, you just set new, and it does it. Or you can also do like set number too. That works too. Or no number, etc. It works. Either way. So. All right. So, like I said, if you want more, if you really want to dedicate yourself to Vim and learn all of it, you can watch YouTube videos. There's tons of Vim tutorials. There's one that I really like called from MIT. It's I think called the Missing Lecture or whatnot that they did like a series on, and they have one dedicated to Vim. It's like an hour or so long or more, and you can watch it, and it goes through a ton of Vim, nitty gritty and everything, and customizing and whatnot. But you can use that or you don't have to. But in this class, we will use Vim, so you need to learn it. Because there's a ton of times in your career where you won't be able to use a GUI editor. Okay. So, summary, case matters in Linux, right? Why is Vim important, etc. We've been over this, right? So yeah, quiz will be this week. Come to lab, be prepared. We'll have it at the end of the lab. Yeah, and have a good week.